lost a pocket, Kitty Fisher found it. Not a penny was there in it, only ribbon round it.
Picture this. It's 2019, and I'm standing in the parking lot of a Whole Foods, frantically patting down every pocket, every fold of my jacket, every corner of my purse. My wallet is gone. Not just gone, vanished into the ether like it never existed. And in that wallet? Everything I thought I needed to prove I was a real person. Driver's license, credit cards, insurance cards, that little folded piece of paper with my grandmother's handwriting that I'd been carrying around for 15 years. I'm having what I can only describe as an identity crisis in aisle 7 of overpriced organic produce when this nursery rhyme just pops into my head. Lucy Locket lost her pocket. And I start laughing. Not the gentle, oh, how quaint kind of laugh, but the slightly unhinged laughter of someone who's just realized they've been carrying around their entire sense of self in a piece of leather, and some cosmic pickpocket has just made off with it. That's when it hit me. We've all been Lucy Locket at some point. We've all lost our pocket, that thing we thought contained everything valuable about us, only to discover there wasn't much in there to begin with. Just some ribbon. Just some pretty decoration we mistook for substance. Before we dive into the psychological goldmine this little rhyme represents, let me blow your mind with where this song actually comes from. Because, honey, when I tell you the historical Lucy Locket was not worried about losing her change purse, I mean she was worried about losing her entire livelihood. Lucy Locket was a real person, an 18th century London courtesan who worked the same streets as her rival, Kitty Fisher. And when the rhyme talks about Lucy losing her pocket, it's not talking about a sewn-in fabric pouch. Back then, pockets were separate items, little bags that women tied around their waists under their skirts, accessible through slits in the fabric. But here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean sexually charged in ways that would make your Victorian ancestors clutch their actual pearls. Pocket was also slang for vagina. Yeah, you heard that right. This innocent little children's song is actually about sex worker drama from 300 years ago. Lucy lost her pocket, meaning she lost her sexual appeal, her marketability, her entire business model. Maybe she got older, maybe she got sick, maybe she just couldn't compete anymore. And Kitty Fisher? She swooped in and claimed Lucy's former territory, her former clients, her former income stream. But here's the kicker. When Kitty examined what she'd taken over, she found it empty. Not a penny was there in it, only ribbon round it. All the external trappings of success, all the pretty packaging, but no real substance underneath. No actual wealth, no security, nothing lasting. It's like the ultimate 18th century version of someone taking over your Instagram account only to discover you have no actual savings, just really good lighting and a ring light. Now, I know what you're thinking. Great, so we're doing shadow work based on 300-year-old sex worker competition. How is this relevant to my modern life? Oh, friend, let me count the ways. See, we all have pockets. Not the literal kind, though those are useful too, but the metaphorical containers where we keep everything we think makes us valuable. Your job title, your relationship status, your bank account, your social media following, your degrees, your achievements, your carefully curated image of having your shit together. And we spend so much energy protecting these pockets, making sure they look full and impressive from the outside. We stuff them with credentials and accomplishments, and the right brands and the right opinions. We tie them on tight every morning and pray to whatever gods we believe in that nobody notices how empty they actually are. But life has this annoying habit of playing pickpocket with our identities. The job disappears. The relationship ends. The market crashes. The pandemic hits. The diagnosis comes back. And suddenly, we're standing there like Lucy Locket, patting ourselves down in disbelief, wondering where all that stuff we thought made us valuable went. And that's when we discover the shadow truth. Most of what we thought was in our pocket was just ribbon, pretty decoration, shiny stuff that looked important but didn't actually contain any real wealth. Here's where this gets psychologically juicy. Because the shadow work isn't just about losing your pocket. It's about examining what you put in there in the first place and why you thought it would keep you safe. Let's start with the obvious one, the achievement pocket. This is the one stuffed full of degrees and job titles and performance reviews and that trophy you got in 3rd grade that your mom still has on her mantle. I see this shadow everywhere. People who can't introduce themselves without immediately listing their credentials. People who have anxiety attacks when they're between jobs because they literally don't know who they are without their work identity. People who achieved everything they thought they were supposed to achieve, and then sat in their successful lives wondering why they felt so empty. The shadow here is the part of you that believes you are only valuable for what you produce, what you accomplish, what you achieve. It's the inner voice that says, if I'm not constantly proving my worth through external validation, I must be worthless. And when life inevitably comes along and yanks that achievement pocket right off your belt, through job loss, retirement, illness, or just plain old burnout, you're left standing there like, wait, who am I if I'm not my resume? Then there's the relationship pocket. This is the one where we keep our entire sense of self-worth tied up in being needed, being loved, being chosen. It's packed full of text screenshots and anniversary photos and that feeling of completeness you get when someone else validates your existence. The shadow side of this pocket is the part of you that believes you're only lovable when you're useful, when you're the perfect partner, the devoted friend, the self-sacrificing parent. When you're so busy being everything to everyone else that you forget you're supposed to be something to yourself too. And honey, let me tell you, when this pocket gets lost, through breakup, death, kids growing up and not needing you anymore, the shadow revelation is devastating. Because you realize you've spent so long defining yourself through other people's needs that you have no idea what your own needs even are. Oh, this one's sneaky. This is the pocket where we keep all our enlightenment, our spiritual achievements, our moral high ground. It's full of meditation streaks and charity work and the right political opinions and that smug feeling you get when you're more evolved than everyone else. The shadow here is the part of you that uses spiritual practice as another form of achievement, another way to feel special and superior. It's the inner voice that says, at least I'm not like those unconscious people. At least I'm doing the work. And when life comes along and strips away your spiritual pocket, through doubt, through failure, through realizing you're just as petty and human as everyone else, you're left facing the shadow truth that all your enlightenment was just another form of ego decoration. But here's the really uncomfortable part. We're not just Lucy Locket in this story, we're also Kitty Fisher. We're the ones who see someone else lose their pocket and think, finally my chance. We're the ones who swoop in when a colleague gets laid off and volunteer to take on their responsibilities. We're the ones who slide into someone's DMs right after their breakup. We're the ones who feel secretly relieved when the person we've been competing with finally fails. And then we get our hands on what they lost, and we realize it's empty. The job isn't as fulfilling as we thought it would be. The relationship has the same problems theirs did. The success feels just as hollow as it probably felt to them. That's the shadow of competition, of thinking that what we need is out there in someone else's pocket, instead of recognizing that no external pocket is ever going to contain what we're really looking for. So what are we really looking for? What would a full pocket actually contain? This is where the shadow work gets interesting, because the answer isn't what most people expect. We keep thinking we need to find more stuff to put in our pocket, more achievements and relationships and validation to make us feel complete. But what if the revelation isn't that our pocket is empty, but that we don't need a pocket at all? What if the real shadow work is recognizing that you are not your achievements, your relationships, your spiritual practices, or any other external container you've been stuffing with meaning? What if you are the space that contains all these things, not the things themselves? I know. That sounds like some new age bullshit that someone would say while burning sage and charging crystals. But stick with me here, because this is actually the most practical psychological insight you can have. When you stop locating your value in external pockets that can be lost or stolen, you become unlosable. Not because nothing bad will ever happen to you. Bad things will definitely happen. Pockets will definitely get lost. But because your fundamental sense of worth isn't tied up in stuff that can disappear. Here's the final shadow revelation that this innocent nursery rhyme offers us. Kitty Fisher's pocket was probably just as empty as Lucy Locket's. Think about it. She found Lucy's pocket, discovered it was empty, and then… what? Did she suddenly become fulfilled and complete? Did her own pocket magically fill up with substance and meaning? Of course not. She just became the new Lucy Locket, protecting her own empty pocket, probably terrified that some other Kitty Fisher would come along and discover her secret, that she was also running on ribbon and wishful thinking. We're all walking around with empty pockets, trying to look like we've got it all figured out, secretly terrified that someone will discover we're making it up as we go along. And you know what? That's not a bug in the human system. That's a feature. Because once you really get that everyone's pocket is empty, that we're all just walking around with various arrangements of ribbon, something beautiful happens. You stop trying to steal other people's pockets. You stop being devastated when yours gets lost. You start appreciating ribbon for what it is, pretty, temporary decoration that makes the journey more beautiful but was never meant to contain your entire sense of worth. So the next time you hear, Lucy Locket lost her pocket, don't just think about a careless woman who misplaced her purse. Think about the liberation of discovering that the thing you thought contained your value was just ribbon all along. Think about how much energy you'll save when you stop protecting pockets that were never full to begin with. Think about how much more present you can be when you're not constantly checking to make sure your identity is still where you left it. Lucy Locket lost her pocket, found herself instead. Not a worry was there in it, just this moment, just this breath. And maybe that's not a loss at all. Maybe that's the most valuable thing you could ever find.